It's in relation with voting of additional members. We need to be clarified, Comrade Chair. We are going to vote for 80 names. We can't remember 80 names. We need to have lists for 80 names so that we remember that we need to vote for particular candidates in the conference. The last issue, comrades, I need to be clarified in terms of the nomination of additional members. When you do nomination from the floor, I don't think our constitution says it's all 25%. Let us be clarified. For additional members, it is what percentage, and for officials also, it is what percentage. That's my clarity seeking question, Comrade Chengabong.
There's a comrade there. Yes, comrade.
Thank you, Comrade Chair. Lina lame ke tshepa belebese.
Khulumela eduze kwe mic, comrade.
Ke batla go dira yalo modulasetulo. Ke a leboga modulasetulo, Lina lame ke nna tshepa belebese.
Ubani lo khulumayo?
Tshepa
Yes.
belebese.
Is it you talking?
No. Yes, my leader.
No, comrade. Here is a comrade wearing a black T-shirt. That's who I've given a permission to speak.
I black
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair.
Chair, my name is Oabile Siabelo. I'm a voting branch delegate from a sub-region of Ratlo in Ngakamutremolem from the Northwest Province. There are two issues, Chair, that I would like to check with you. One is that I heard the Electoral Commission say we must carry the mandate of a branch. Now, the list of additional is developed from a branch, which is a mandate that I must carry. Now, if I'm not allowed with that list in the voting station, whose mandate must I carry in that voting station? Secondly, Chair, with due respect, the Electoral Commission does not have a constitutional mandate to discipline any member of the ANC. It is the responsibility of the NTC as adopted in the rules of procedure in this national conference. And lastly, Chair, I want to appeal to the Electoral Commission that the manner in which they are presenting, they are justifying what the National Secretary has talked about, Comrade SG, that says it looks like there are intention to rig this conference. Thank you.
There are people right at the back, but I can't see any hands. But they've complained that I often don't see them.
Chairperson, please focus. Please.
Yes, comrade, at the back there.
Thank you.
Low waiver, a flag. Yes, come. Yes.
Thank you, Chairperson.
Go to the mic.
Comrade Chairperson, my name is Tsepa Belebese. I'm from Ward 16.
Say that again, Asibuzwa.
Comrade Chair, Kamalami reaching Ozwane, far not reaches.
Wait. Uba no kulmayo. I have recognized a comrade who's standing there waving his program. That's who must speak, who's right next to the pillar. He's now walking forward. That's the person who must speak.
Thanks very much, Chairperson. This is Sasabona Manganye from Sefakomahatu branch in the inner city zone, Greater Joburg region in Gauteng. Chairperson, we want to agree with the rules as presented by elections agency. And let me indicate this, Chair. Every conference we talk about fighting the politics of the slates. But comrades still want to enter into voting stations with slates. Comrades must go and vote cadres of the movement who have been identified from their branches. By now they should be familiar with them without using slates. We don't want slate politics. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, comrade. Yes, comrade.
Che igama lami ngoRish ngowazwane KZN Finalizing sub-region. Ebengifuna ukuchecka la che ngizwe kuthiwa abantu abazo observer kuzokhethwa 2 per province. Ngifuna ukuchecka ukuthi kwaZulu Natal ngoba asinayo iPC nibathathe kanjani labo bantu bese ngiba nombono othi ongcono kuze sizoba happy sonke ngcono manithatha lo 2 nithathe 1 this side nithathe 1 this side.
Over there, is that Limpopo? Lo pete iflag. Kahleni ma comrade, kahleni ma comrade ase KZN imani ngobuya kunina. Kade nikhuluma. Comrades over there. Yes. There's no time. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
1 2 1 2. Yeah. Comrade Chair, my name is Tandu Xolo Kalipa from the Free State, Ward 17, Alfred Inzo branch. Ndifuna ukusekenda iWomen's League. Ukuthi asingeke siwakhumbule lamagama ayi-80 ngoba sifuna ukusebenzisa okanye sisupporte imandate ye-branch, not islate, and will be wrong any member of the ANC ithi imandate ye-branch sislate. Esibini ukuthi xa abantu bengaphethanga i-ID already abantu banikezwe i-tag ezibaxela ukuthi zi-branch delegate. Kufanele bafumane if bengenazo i-ID or i-license or i-affidavit prove ukuthi indeed that comrade is a delegate of the African National Congress.
Okay, comrades, thank you. Yes, comrade, in green there in the middle. Wena Kaban. Wena.
1 2 1 2. Thanks very much, National Chair. My name is Dan Smart from Ward 18 in Blowback Sub-Region, Limpopo Province. Comrade Chair, the Electoral Commission has been appointed by the NEC, and therefore they must emulate and implement their electoral process in terms of the ANC constitution. Therefore, the constitution supersedes everything. So it is important, Chair, that let's not try to dilly-dallying and waste time. The Commission's things are straight and forward, and I therefore move for the adoption so that we go to elections. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, comrades, I hear you, but now we have 10 issues that have been raised, including questions of clarification on various matters. I'm going to allow Comrade Sindiso to respond, to clarify. Then we will come back, comrades. Because they've taken 10 issues.
Thank you, Comrade Chair. I will try and do justice to all the questions. Most of them I think I've understood. The first one is about 50%, that was from the Women's League. For the NEC nominations, I think that position remains. It has always been that at that level of the NEC, in order to observe a position of the ANC about gender equality, that should be the position as far as we are concerned. If there will be any changes, they can be done by a higher body than us. About the 80 names of the members of the NEC, I want to say we are at a situation where we need to convince our people that we are serious about giving power to the branches. We sing songs and say, Amandla asemasebeni, and then we proceed to ignore Amase. We want now to begin to show that the ANC is serious about the power of the branches. Now, when it comes to the numbers of the members of the National Executive, it has been agreed the totality will be 80. Again, we are saying, in keeping with the need to strengthen the ANC, that the branches will elect the people whom they know are capable of doing the job. We do not expect each branch out of the thousands of branches in this country to know 80 people all over the country. The best way to reach the correct, suitable number of 80 people is for each branch to nominate people they know. Why?
Comrades, siyanizwa ukuthi you don't agree with everything, but sicela niyeke uComrade Sindiso aqede i-response. Comrades, maqabane. Ngiyanizwa ukuthi nikhala ngo-order, and we will give you the chance. Sizonika i-chance maqabane, but don't shout ngoba ngizovele ngezwa ke manje ukuthi ubani okhulumayo kuphi. Maqabane, ngicela nehlise imoya, nihlale phansi, nehlise izandla. Yes, comrade in a yellow t-shirt. ANC Youth League.
Comrade Chair, thank you very much. My name is Desmond Muela, representing the ANC Youth League. We respect the old man as he was presenting. However, we are not agreeing.
Comrades, listen to the comrades.
We are not agreeing that comrades must go and vote according to what he was saying. Branches has been delegated here. They must vote according to the mandate of their branches. And they must have, because you can't go and vote without, you can't remember the 80 names. So branches must be given an opportunity to vote according to what they want. So that matter of saying they must not have the list and so on, it must just be outside, because we are not going to agree with that as the ANC Youth League.
Okay, comrades, can I appeal to you to allow Comrade Sindiso to finish? We've heard what the point. Nifuna kwenzekeni? Yes, comrade, here. Yeah.
Ngemvume yakho sihlalo igama lami ngufalaka Mhlongo Sibongo i-delegate e-Ward 71 Naido Makhaya zone eThekwini region. Cha ngifuna ukuthi sihlalo njengoba size la inkomfa kweyama delegate, so sihlale sivota lokho esikutshelwa namhlanje asizuvumelana nabo ngoba ngasikhathi sinikwa amapheke kwathi wasikhetha amagama siwafaka kuma-envelope, ama-envelope eza kwi-national. Uma senithi manje asingabi nawo amagama asiqondi lento esho ukuthini. Umkhulu lo lento ayishoyo akaqala icabange kahle ngoba ngeke samsane nayo ithina ama-delegate.
Okay, comrades. It's okay, comrades. Sicela uqhubeka ke, because you don't need to all come to the mic to make the same point. We don't need everybody to come to the mic to make the same point. Mpumalanga.
Thank you very much, National Chair. I'm Lindy Wenjali from Emalahleni Sub-Region, Nkangala Region, Mpumalanga Province, the Deputy Secretary of the province. National Chair, it's not for the first time we've got an electoral commission. Sicela bangapolitiki, ama rules siwazwile kahle. Branches, when they are here, they've got a right to lobby and be lobbied. And from there, National Chair, we support the Women's League to say as branches and branch delegates here, we will lobby each other. Indaba ye-airtime ayiqali. As phumeni kuleso space as a commission, let the branch delegate deal with the voting part of it. Thank you.
Siyabonga, Comrade Nchali. It's the issue of the list. Okay, comrades. Imani sincedise. Let's deal with the issue yama list.
Please listen to me so that I can respond to you. Now, I think all of you here understand why we are thinking like this as the Electoral Commission. No, no. We have all been saying that the policy of slates must come to an end. So, we are not forcing anybody to do this. We are not forcing anybody. Your organization, your leadership will make the decision. I am not your leadership. So relax, this question will be dealt with. This question will be dealt with. It is not forced on you. It's not forced on you.
Okay, comrades. Okay, comrades. Comrades, siyanizwa. It's okay, comrades. Comrades. We don't want to force the issue about lists. We are not forcing the issue relating to lists. Okay, comrades? So, sicela nehlisa umoya asilwi ngendaba yama lists. Comrade Mzwandile.
There is a point of order. Can you switch on the mic?
Thank you, National Chairperson. My name is Mzwandile Masina, a branch delegate. I need your attention, Chair, so that we can address the constitutional issue so that we don't fight over nothing. My name is Mzwandile Masina from Ward 51 in Katlehong in Eguruleni. I rise here on the 11.4 of the Constitution to try and assist the electoral body to ensure that we subscribe to what the Constitution provides. I want to read it to you, Chairperson of the session, so that we can be together. It says, duties and powers of the National Conference. I jump 11, 1, 2, 3, I go to 4. It says, elect the President, Deputy President, National Chairperson, Secretary General, Deputy Secretary General, Treasurer General, and the remaining 80 additional members of the NEC. So we are not fundraising the issue because what we are raising as branches, we are saying that it is impossible to remember 80 people without a mechanism that has always been used in the organization. We will end up voting for people we see on TV, even if we don't know. There are others who appear with Save South Africa who might end up in the list, which shouldn't be the point. We want to vote the ANC members that we know because we are canvassing each other's views. So let's stick to the Constitution. It will assist all of us. Thank you very much, National Chair.
Asilwi nalento show, Comrade Mzwandile. And the Electoral Commission is also saying that's fine if that's what conference wants. There's a comrade. Okay, comrade Cindy, so once to finish his presentation, his response. Yes, comrade.
Very much, Chair. Yes, thank you very much, Chair. Libito la ka ke Wesley Khang, go tswa ko provinceng ya Bokone Bophirima, sub-region ya Matlosana, Ward 9. Chair, I thought when we came to the conference, These accreditation cards replaces everything that built for me to receiving this. Now I'm a bit perplexed also when the chair of the session says, as we go to the voting booth, we are subsequently expected to bring along IDs. I think this is my ID, my face is here. So, Chair, we are requesting that this be our IDs, we vote with this. Not what the chair is bringing, because I came with my ID in order to have received my tag. Thank you very much.
Okay, comrades. Comrades, I now rule that Comrade Cindy so will finish responding to their questions. And then we will take additional inputs.
Amandla. 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 Away too. I think, comrades, before we accuse the Electoral Commission of anything, we should take you through Rule 14. Because if we don't do that, we're going to create rules of the Electoral Commission out of gut feel. It says, the NEC shall appoint an Electoral Commission of not fewer than 3 members whose task will be prepare the ballot paper, make provision for ballot boxes and other means of secret voting, create a machinery for counting of ballot papers and effective supervision of the counting machinery, announce results of all ballots and make known the number of votes received by each successful candidate. Now, this is where I think we are refusing to read. It's point 14.1.5. Establish procedures for voting and determine any dispute raised in regard to elections and election procedures, and to determine how any tied vote should be resolved. That is the responsibility of the Electoral Commission. Now, once the Electoral Commission is appointed, it has a responsibility to ensure that it executes these tasks. Now, if when they do this, a comrade accuse them of many things, it's a political party, it's an organization, it's a liberation movement. We are all political. We have not taken IEC. We have appointed an Electoral Commission of the ANC out of the veterans of the ANC. If you are expecting these veterans to be apolitical, you are saying to them, they must unlearn what they learned over many years. So let's appeal, comrade, that we should allow the Electoral Commission, Mamelani, comrade, we should allow the Electoral Commission to protect us from ourselves.
Thank you, comrades. I have already explained that we are not here to force things down your throat. So the top leadership will finalize this whole issue. We were trying to show you what needs to be done if we are going to improve our movement. Now, I will not go any further on this whole issue about slates, etc. All I'm saying is we were trying to show how we can reduce the problems, but we are not forcing anything down your throats, and the leadership will finalize that thing. The ID issue, it's just besides this card, when you are going to vote, it's to confirm that you are who this card says you are. That's all. So thank you very much for listening to us, and I hope you have understood our position. Nothing is being forced down the throats of the members of the ANC.
Comrades, I'm allowing Comrade Tony Yengeni, a member of the NEC, to also intervene.
Amandla, comrades, I think we're complicating a very easy matter as far as I'm concerned. The SG has just read the rules and the powers and functions of the Electoral Commission. There were rules of conference that were read earlier. Conference is the highest decision-making body of the African National Congress. No rules can be imposed on conference. No rule. If the conference rejects a rule, that's it, finish. Comrades, wait, comrades. There is no electoral commission, or anybody for that matter, who's going to impose rules on us as a national conference.
Amanda, Comrade National Chair, thank you very much. Comrade National Chair, we're rising on a point that when the Electoral Commission has presented the rules and procedures for voting, the expectation is that the 2 points that are being raised by delegates. One point is about the right of branches to be having a mechanism to carry their mandate. And the second issue, National Chair, is with the respect of the identification system. The IEC must be able, and we must be able to allow delegates and the conference to be able to say what is the final take on the 2 issues, rather than to defend the 2 issues. Thank you, Chair.
Northwest and then Eastern Cape. I will.
National Chair.
Yes, Teta.
My name is Madoda Sambata.
Yes.
I'm a branch delegate from Northwest Matlosana, Ward 21. Okokala, the point of order I'm rising for on conference is that the 80 that you are allowing conference to fight over It's not similar to the nominations of the top 6, which names we know we don't need a list. For conference to proceed, separate nominations of the top 6 and we proceed with them. We know 6 names, all of us. After that, the Electoral Commission must then present additional members of the National Executive Committee who have made it from nominations from branches. Based on that list, we will decide on voting for the National Executive Committee. Separate top 6 from 80 now for us to proceed. But what we cannot allow conference to, it's when National Executive Committee members of the ANC speak against the NEC, which they are members of. Thank you very much.
Okay, comrade, you make a valid point. Eastern Cape. Eastern Cape.
Chair, Free State, Chair.
I will come back to this side, and I've been this side before. Eastern Cape.
I did. Engosi Sihlalo. Lo uthethayo. Engosi Sihlalo. Uyelo lo uthethayo nangu. Sihlalo.
Make your point.
Sihlalo. Igama lami ngutata kaTununu Skotana from Eastern Cape. Chrisani region, insika yethu sub-region. Che, imbanguba ndizoma apha mna. Ndifuna uchekisha apha kuwe, ndifuna i-order apha kuwe. Uzama ukuchekisha uba uyayazi na uba Eastern Cape i-part and parcel yale nkomfa. Ngoba oko siphakamisile le ndawo amehlo wakho aphelela kula kona nakwele kona. Phanga femva thina sizi-observers. Ndicela ke uyazi into yobana i-Eastern Cape ikhona apha yaye iyafuna uparticipata kule ntlanganiso. Okokugqibela ke Chair. Okokugqibela Chair.
Uthetha into ebisithethwe nguComrade Oscar.
Okay.
So I thought I was giving you an opportunity to make your point.
Okokugqibela ke Chair. Chair, i-Electoral Commission ayinazodictate terms for us. Therefore, i-Constitution supersedes everything ekule nkomfa. Ngoko ke akunakwakha enye into phezu kwe-Constitution. Masihlonipheni umgaqo seko we-ANC sihambe ngawo. Enkosi Chair.
Comrade Naledi, member of the NEC.
Did agree that they can do their list. Can you repeat this and tell them to sit down? That's really all you have to do.
Comrades, don't howl. Don't howl. Comrades, fine. We can hear you. We can hear you. We have to discuss that thing. You can't just howl it to us. Comrade Naledi?
Chairperson, I think, Chair, we cannot allow the conference to continue in this manner. Well, we cannot allow conference to go on in this manner. I suggest, Chairperson, we accept the proposal that we proceed with the top 6 nominations and we deal with the issue of the 80 and whether you can have a list at that point. We cannot carry on in this way.
Comrades, that issue then is closed, and we proceed to focus on nominations for the top 6. We will proceed to nominating additional members after we are done with nominations for the top 6. Okay. Comrades from the Electoral Commission, Electoral Commission, Electoral Commission, please come and deal with the nominations.
afternoon, comrades. Please, will you be seated? Comrades, please. Comrades, we've got an important task to do this afternoon. Please be seated. Comrades, please. Please. Okay, we'll start with the process. Comrades at Nazareth, can we please be seated so we can start the process? Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Comrades, I'd like to give you the background to this process very briefly. The Electoral Commission Comrades, will you please be seated? Okay, please, can you be seated? Order, please, comrades, order. Thank you very much, thank you. Comrades, I'm from the election agency, and we were contracted by the Electoral Commission to consolidate the branch nominations. These were received by the agency. We consolidated them at PGCs, and we then took the consolidated list of preferred candidates for the top 6 positions, which my colleague Bontle Mpakanyana will take you through the process. At this point then, Bontle, would you like to come through so that we can... Are you okay? What's that? Okay, can we please have order? Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, comrades. As indicated, what you are about to be presented with is the consolidation of the officials as nominated by the branches, and I will go position by position, outlining the nominees, that is the candidates nominated per position, and indicate those that would have accepted and those that would have declined. And then we will then get straight into further nominations from the floor. And at this point, I'd like to request the agency staff to take their positions should there be any further nominations from the floor for the officials. Agency staff, please spread yourselves accordingly. And if I may plead with delegates, comrades, that everyone remains seated as we do the counting of seconders during the further nominations from the floor process to allow the agency staff to do their counting properly. Comrade, without any waste of time, in terms of the credentials that have been adopted by conference, we know that a total of 4,776 delegates are present here, voting delegates. And in terms of the floor nomination process, we require the 25%, which I will outline as we get into the process. Every nomination coming from the floor will be required to meet the constitutional requirement of the 25% threshold. And the 25% of the 4776 is 1592, so that we know upfront what our figures are. My apologies, 1194 is the total for the 25%. Without any further waste of time, the following are the candidates for the position of president as nominated by branches. For the position of president, we've got Comrade Cyril Ramaphosa, who has, comrades, please give me time and then we can do the rest afterwards. Comrade Cyril Ramaphosa, nominated by 1,469 branches across 6 provinces, and Comrade has accepted nomination. And then we have Comrade Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma, who has been nominated by 1,094 branches across 6 provinces, and Comrade has also accepted nominations. As things stand, comrades, we have 2 candidates for the position of president, Comrade Cyril Ramaphosa and Comrade Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma. Do we have any further nominations from the floor for the position of president? Any further nominations? I don't see any hands. That's it, comrades. For the position of president, we have our 2 candidates. We will revisit the final lists for the officials as we end the process. Thank you, comrades. We move on. The next position is that of deputy president. For this portfolio, we've got the following candidates: Comrade David Mabuza, nominated by 1128 branches across 6 provinces, and Comrade has accepted nomination. Our second candidate is Comrade Zweli Mkhize, nominated by 193 branches across one province, and Comrade has accepted nomination. We then have Comrade Lindiwe Sisulu, nominated by 619 branches across 4 provinces, and Comrade has accepted nomination. And the last province had nominated Comrade Nalendi Pando, and she has declined nomination. So our candidates, comrades, for the position of deputy president are Comrade David Mabuza, Comrade Zweli Mkhize, and Comrade Lindiwe Sisulu. Do we have any further nominations from the floor for the position of deputy president? None. We move on, comrades. The next position is that of national chairperson. For this position, we have Comrade Gwede Mantashe, nominated by 1,499 branches across 7 provinces, and Comrade has accepted nomination. Followed by Comrade Nati Mtetwa, nominated by 807 branches across 5 provinces, and Comrade has accepted. Do we have any further nominations from the floor for the position of national chair? No hands. Next position is that of Secretary General. We have Comrade Senzo Mkhunu, nominated by 1,479 branches across 7 provinces. We then also have Comrade Ace Makashule, nominated by 930 branches across 5 provinces, and both candidates have accepted nomination. Are there any further nominations from the floor for the position of Secretary General? None. I don't see any hands. We move on, comrades. The next position is that of Deputy Secretary General. We've got in this portfolio Comrade Jesse Duarte, nominated by 845 branches across 7 provinces, and Comrade has accepted, followed by Comrade Zingi Swalosi, nominated by 361 branches across 3 provinces, and Comrade has accepted. We then had 2 candidates who were nominated by 2 provinces, Comrade Phoebe Kubule Potgieter and Comrade Vuiswa Tulelo, who both have declined their nomination. So we have 2 candidates in this portfolio, comrades. The last position, and I will revisit finally what the ballot paper will look like. Are there any further nominations for the position of Deputy Secretary General? No. Last position is that of Treasurer General. We've got Comrade Paul Mashatile, nominated by 1,581 branches across 7 provinces, followed by Comrade Nomvula Mokonyane, nominated by 289 branches across 1 province. Both have accepted. And lastly, we have Comrade Maite Nkwana Mashabane, nominated by 275 branches across 4 provinces, and she too has accepted, comrades. Are there any further nominations from the floor for the position of Treasurer General? None. Comrades, just to...
My name is Nomvula Pola Mukonyani. I decline the nomination of Treasurer General.
Comrade, as you have heard, Comrade Nomvula Mokonyane has withdrawn her candidature. Okay. I think there's another input.
Thank you, Comrade Chair. I want to acknowledge all the nominations and all the work that the comrades have done. But I also want to say I've been engaged with a number of comrades here and would like to contribute in building and strengthening unity in this organization. So at that level, I'd like to withdraw from the nomination. Thank you very much, comrades.
Comrades, as you have heard, Comrade Zwelim Kize has withdrawn his candidature as well. I will then, comrades, read out the final list of candidates for the officials. But before I do that, comrades, I need to indicate that once we leave here, we obviously will go through to the voting hall to prepare the ballot paper, and we will indicate to plenary once we are ready with the ballot papers, but also once we have received the voters' roll. Once that has been done, we will then send the message through. But also to indicate to those provincial monitors to join the commission at this stage, comrades, so that we can start our work earnestly. For the position of president, candidates are as follows: Comrade Cyril Ramaphosa and Comrade Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma. For the position of deputy president, we have got Comrade David Mabuza and Comrade Lindiwe Sisulu. For the position of national chairperson, we have Comrade Gwede Mantashe and Comrade Nati Mtetwa. For the position of Secretary General, we have Comrade Senzo Mkunu and Comrade Ace Makashule. For the position of Deputy Secretary General, we have Comrade Jesse Duarte and Comrade Zingi Swalosi. And lastly, for the position of Treasurer General, we have Comrade Paul Mashatile and Comrade Maite Nkwana Mashabane. Comrades, just to indicate the structure of the ballot paper, you will remember that in other elections that we have held, we do put all officials' positions on one sheet, so that all the positions will appear on one sheet of paper. You do know that process, comrades, and I think it is understood, but we will reiterate once voting takes place as to the how. That is the situation in terms of the ballot, comrades. I'm not sure if there are any questions at this stage.
Should I explain the process here? Yeah.
Comrades, there seems to be a question from the floor. I'm not sure whether it pertains to... Yeah. Comrades, can we quickly outline the procedure for voting before we get...
I wanted to ask a question.
Sorry, can you identify yourself, comrade?
Okay, my name is Simon Molefe. I'm from Gauteng, from the West Rand region, in Jericho Fella branch. In the context of the comrades who have been withdrawing their nomination, is it possible, in the interest of rebuilding the ANC, to still request comrades who are contesting to check whether none of them want to withdraw for their other? The conference, the ANC presidency cannot continuously be contested. So I'm requesting that possibility, if the IEC can allow the candidates a 2-hour opportunity to engage each other. Thank you.
Comrades, I think the process is quite clear. We've given opportunity for the constitutional requirement of the additional floor nominations. And I think in those instances where we've indicated the candidature per position, it's incumbent on each candidate to indicate to conference whether they accept, withdraw, or decline, whatever the case is. And in this particular aspect, comrades, the candidates who have specifically indicated to conference have withdrawn their candidature because the initial scenario was that they had accepted. So I think it is quite clear from that point of view, comrades. I think we're now going to get into the voting process and procedure, and we will be off and gone, comrades, to develop the ballot paper. Thank you.
Comrades, very briefly, and you do understand the process because you've been through it so many times before, but I'd like to just take you briefly through the process again. Marshals will be calling out delegates to the voting hall, and we will be asking you to, at the voting hall, to provide us with for the voting delegates, to provide us with your conference tags and with some form of ID, be it an ID or a driver's license. We will then tick your name off the register that has been provided to us, and we will provide you with one ballot form with the 6 positions on the ballot form. We are requesting you to make your mark against the candidate of your choice per position. Once you have done that, we will request you please to fold your ballot form and place it in the ballot box. We have monitors, we have election staff to assist you, and the Electoral Commission will also be observing. If you have any questions, you are free to ask any of the election agency staff on the floor. Comrades, we're trying to explain the process for the final time. Okay. And we would really appreciate it if the provincial monitors would join us at the voting hall so that we can brief you further as to the process. Thank you very much for your patience, and we look forward to seeing you at the voting hall. Thank you.
Comrades, can we now ask that we allow our guests from the media to leave the room so we can continue to the organizational report?
Okay. Do you want to write them down quickly?
For the exam, please. Stand by.
Well, as the sun sets here in Gauteng over Nasrec, it's the moment of truth. The numbers are out in terms of the nominations, giving us an indication of how things stand at the moment. Of course, these are the results of what some may argue to be the horse trading, and that's why you had some of the nominees who have fallen by the wayside.
Indeed, Aldrin. And at least it's woken everybody up, you know, if nothing else, because that was quite interesting. Firstly, you know, of course, the nominations process, which one would expect all of the delegates to know coming to conference, but apparently not so commonsensical, that, Levy.
Well, I think it's important to note that some delegates might be coming to conference for the first time, but also you would expect a person, a delegate, who is given the responsibility to come and represent a branch to have given him or herself sufficient time to look at the regulations. What are the do's and the don'ts? What is it that I must do and not do? Because for me, plenary just wasted time. Most of the issues that were being raised there were totally unnecessary, because it was the NEC had to always clarify the issues that are actually in black and white. For me, I find that to be a bit disappointing, and I think the branches that send some of these delegates might not be very impressed with the behavior of the delegates.
And Sakina was speaking earlier on about political education and the importance of political education, and now it shows that that political education wasn't there. But an issue that we were speaking about earlier on was the issue around the list. And the chairperson of the ANC has indicated that that issue will be dealt with a bit later on. Whether the delegates who are voting should be allowed with a list of the 80 names of NEC nominees which they want to vote for. And I've already made my position clear on this one. I say that it would be a bit impossible to remember 80 people. And whether you support those people would be a bit difficult. And I was thinking now that even at the office, I was trying to think, who do I know? Do I know 80 people who I can say their name and their surname and write them down, and there won't be any spelling mistake? Because the risk there is that it could be a spoiled ballot.
Yes, indeed. Well, I raised this issue off air. I said, I don't know the team you support, but I'm aware that you know all the players. If you are a delegate, a responsible delegate, who is representing a branch, who wants a leadership that must make a change in South Africa, he wouldn't struggle to identify people that were discussed at conference, at a branch level. But I would expect a situation where a list will then be provided to all the voting delegates, and then they'll be given sufficient time to look at the names that were actually discussed at a branch level. But also, we've got different calibers of people that are attending. Some might not be able to recall the names. But if you look at the generation here at conference, it's people that are still in a very active, who might be in a very, very good state of mind, that they might still be able to do that. But in the main, it wasn't necessary to have such a long discussion over these simple issues.
But it's very telling, Lebohang, because if you are expected to nominate and elect leadership, surely you would have done due diligence. Otherwise, what does that mean? That you come here just to be voting cattle?
To be unprepared. I mean, the whole idea, I mean, it links to what Levy was saying as well, that you'd expect that if you've been given a mandate from your branch, your province, etc., there have been several deliberations. Conference doesn't start here, right? So conference has been for the past, in fact, conference starts at the end of the previous conference, effectively. So we would expect that certainly there have been deliberations, and that not only that, there have been a qualitative sense of what the slate, the totality of the slate should look like. What are the criteria of leaders that we're looking for? Why are we even selecting these particular people? And, you know, of course, I mean, I think it is asking a bit much to remember 80 names in detail, but I do think that in terms of a sense of, there should not be anybody who's completely unfamiliar to anybody who comes here. And I don't think we need to be having these kind of very granular discussions.
But we are.
But we are. So, I mean, it speaks to cadreship, it speaks to the quality of engagement, it speaks to the quality of the branches as well. It speaks to the sort of, I mean, when we were growing up, I won't say when, but a long while ago, there were political schools. There were even Saturday schools. You had your reading list. You had to read Cabral. You had to read certain people. You had to read Nkrumah. You had to, you know, the things that you needed to know. You had to read a bit of Marx. You needed to know a few things. You also needed to understand party political procedure. And this is like most of the Liberation Party traditions. Now, this also indicates that there's been a lapse in the transition from how things were done a long time ago, 23 years ago, to the way that the party is functioning now. And we have to understand that This is an institution and it has to function in a particular way. Its members need to understand its functionality and are also part of optimizing that functionality. So if members here don't come well prepared, prepped, read up, aware, having gone online, and thanks to you know, Wikipedia, Google, internet cafes, it's easy to access this information. So if they don't come prepped, this is the quality of engagement that unfortunately we are subjected to at a national level, live on television, know-how.
But I wonder, doesn't it then signal a space for improvement for the ANC's functions? Yeah. Because if this is what the ANC was doing back in 1997, surely technology has improved and there has been some sort of modernization that should have kicked in terms of how do you vote and how do you nominate and so forth. Another issue that will probably come up now is, had there been a nomination from the floor and somebody stood up and said that I am standing, the expectation is that the Electoral Commission staff members will then have to count up to 1,000 something members. And at which point, don't you know whether one delegate has changed the tag and given their voting tag to Sakina?
Somebody
because there's definitely room for improvement.
There's lots of room for improvement.
You know, I almost felt a lightning bolt jolt through me as Aldrin was saying that, because I think, frankly, it's just embarrassing for the ANC. This should not be playing out at conference, not this level of disagreement, I don't think. No, you know, there are more serious issues, substantive issues that conference should be spending time on engaging, not, you know, we want to have a list to go into a voting booth because we can't remember who the 80 delegates are and that we're supposed to vote for.
We haven't even heard the mention of a policy issue so far.
No, none whatsoever. So Khalifa Motlanthe must make inroads there with that school.
What happened to
the
that
building
school?
is there.
Yes.
He must go and teach.
Actually, we were speaking to one
Theo
analyst,
Venter.
Theo Venter, who said that the school is there, the building is there, but the function of the school is non-existent.
Then you will recall that one of the achievements of the Gwedemantashe's SGs has been that he was able to raise the number of membership in the ANC up to 1 million. Now, having celebrated that, how then do you translate this membership into quality membership or active members of the ANC? Because obviously this has an impact on the logistical arrangements for conference like this one, for delegations and so on and so on. Because you have got active members and members of the ANC who are not active. And that will also compromise quality. But then what else can you do? Because the ANC says we are a mass-based organization, and obviously that will be confirmed by the numbers that they have in terms of membership.
But beyond just that, so if you have a membership that isn't even familiar with basic rules and processes and regulations, how do you then formulate strategy and tactics? Or is this something that is then deferred to a certain grouping within the party and everybody else just ratifies?
So you're touching on something that's really important, which is the role and the agency of political cadreship. What is the function? Because surely what the branch level and what broad cadreship should reflect are the aspirations and the needs and the response to those aspirations, respond to the issues on the ground, you know, the issues that are really besetting people in communities across this country. Now, if they are not able to articulate or they have offloaded, ceded that power and that agency to a small group, a smaller cartel of a brain trust, that becomes very problematic, because it means then, even though we're told the rhetoric that the power is in the branches, it really isn't.
And how often do those branch meetings sit? How often do the branch meetings, the guys from the branches actually sit down and discuss issues of policies? Because even if you look at the past BGMs that took place, the most contentious issue was leadership, more than the policy proposals.
What is preoccupying the mind of a delegate now? For me, is that most delegates are actually bogged down into who then becomes the winner. And that is just one component of conference.
Exactly.
What conference is to do is to focus on the policies that were discussed in June, and then ensure that they find each other, have consensus, and then make sure that these policies are then being implemented.
And that's the reason why, for instance, you had policy proposals in terms of amending the constitution, and they couldn't even get to that. It was decided that all constitutional amendments will now be deferred to the next conference.
Yeah, another 5 years.
So that is quite telling. But of course, some of those policy amendments were meant to actually improve, the functioning of the organization. And you're saying that that is less important than you actually deciding on who the next president will be.
And the quality of the organization that they're going to land into.
That is the unfortunate part. I thought, if you remember, in his closing remarks in Mangaung, President Zuma emphasized the establishment of the political school.
Yeah.
I expected this conference to have a report on the progress made in relation to the political school. I know you're talking about the building that is in existence elsewhere. Maybe we should look at registration and progress. And I doubt if there is any progress.
Let alone the curriculum.
Indeed, because we need to know what is it that the ANC is teaching. There are new members that are coming into the party, and unfortunately that doesn't seem to be occupying a center stage, and that is a worrying factor, especially for the ruling party. And also, if you look at the candidates, there's another factor that is quite missing for me, is the generation.
Yeah.
The ANC seem to be mainly focusing on the older generation, and you're not getting younger people coming into the system. Maybe they are being demoralized to get involved now because they know they won't get leadership positions.
Jesse Duarte had an interview with one of our colleagues just this past week, and they were speaking about this issue around the branches and the strength of the branches and the quality of cadership and so forth. And she said that it was actually a problem that there are more young people that are coming into the structures, and that's the reason why the ANC is facing these difficulties that it's currently facing. Which for me was a bit strange for her to say that.
How odd. I mean, I think that one of the things that's the strength of any organization, institution, grouping is its ability to harness an intergenerational blend of, and intergenerational, by the way, not only in terms of age, intergenerational men, women, differently abled people, etc., etc. So different generations of skills, expertise, and world visions, because this is surely what brings the dynamism that's needed to propel any movement forward. If a bunch of 50-year-olds or a bunch of 20-year-olds or a bunch of 80-year-olds are going to sit and deliberate together, there'll be a level of self-referring, because the world vision is slightly different, is the same. But when you have a multiplicity of characters and characteristics, then you also have the opportunity to open up to multilinear pathways to success, to solutions, to ideas, and to a future vision. So I think that's very odd, and it's also counterlinear given the age of most Africans right now. That's the other thing. I mean, it just goes against our demographic situation on the continent.
I'm actually looking at and trying to find out the exact age of Zingisa Losi, and as it stands at the moment, she's probably the youngest nominee out of all the nominees that have been mentioned. Ronald Lamula earlier on spoke about we need more young people to come through. There must be space. There should be the last time that we have pensioners who are being nominated to become the president of the ANC. Let's just quickly have a relook at the numbers that came through in terms of the nominations. We saw earlier on that Cyril Ramaphosa, of course, as well as Dr. Nkosazana Dlamini-Zuma, the only two contenders as it stands at the moment, 1,469 nominations. We must indicate that these are nominations from the branches, not nominations from the individuals. So things might just change. Let's just take a listen to those numbers.
Good afternoon, comrades. As indicated, what you are about to be presented with is the consolidation of the officials as nominated by the branches, and I will go position by position. outlining the nominees, that is the candidates nominated per position, and indicate those that would have accepted and those that would have declined. And then we will then get straight into further nominations from the floor. And at this point, I'd like to request the agency staff to take their positions should there be any further nominations from the floor for the officials. Agency staff, please spread yourselves accordingly. And if I may plead with delegates, comrades, that everyone remain seated as we do the counting of seconders during the further nominations from the floor process to allow the agency staff to do their counting properly. Comrade, without any waste of time, in terms of the credentials that have been adopted by conference, we know that a total of 4776 delegates are present here, voting delegates. And in terms of the floor nomination process, we require the 25%, which I will outline as we get into the process. Every nomination coming from the floor will be required to meet the constitutional requirement of the 25% threshold. And the 25% of the 4776 is 1592, so that we know upfront what our figures are. My apologies, 1194 is the total for the 25%. Without any further waste of time, the following are the candidates for the position of president as nominated by branches. For the position of president, we've got Comrade Cyril Ramaphosa, who has, comrades, please give me time and then we can do the rest afterwards. Comrade Cyril Ramaphosa, nominated by 1,469 branches across 6 provinces, and Comrade has accepted nomination. And then we have Comrade Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma, who has been nominated by 1,094 branches across 6 provinces, and Comrade has also accepted nominations. As things stand, comrades, we have 2 candidates for the position of president, Comrade Cyril Ramaphosa and Comrade Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma. Do we have any further nominations from the floor for the position of president? Any further nominations? I don't see any hands. That's it, comrades. For the position of president, we have our 2 candidates. We will revisit the final lists for the officials as we end the process. Thank you, comrades. We move on. The next position is that of deputy president. For this portfolio, we've got the following candidates: Comrade David Mabuza, nominated by 1128 branches across 6 provinces, and Comrade has accepted nomination. Our second candidate is Comrade Zweli Mkhize, nominated by 193 branches across a province, 1 province, and Comrade has accepted nomination. We then have Comrade Lindiwe Sisulu, nominated by 619 branches across 4 provinces, and Comrade has accepted nomination. And the last province had nominated Comrade Nalendi Pando, and she has declined nomination. So our candidates, comrades, for the position of deputy president are Comrade David Mabuza, Comrade Zweli Mkhize, and Comrade Lindiwe Sisulu. Do we have any further nominations from the floor for the position of deputy president? None. We move on, comrades. The next position is that of National Chairperson. For this position, we have Comrade Gwede Mantashe, nominated by 1,499 branches across 7 provinces, and Comrade has accepted nomination, followed by Comrade Nati Mtetwa, nominated by 807 branches across 5 provinces, and Comrade has accepted. Do we have any further nominations from the floor for the position of National Chair? No hands. Next position is that of Secretary General. We have Comrade Senzo Mkunu, nominated by 1,479 branches across 7 provinces. We then also have Comrade Ace Makashule, nominated by 930 branches across 5 provinces, and both candidates have accepted nomination. Are there any further nominations from the floor for the position of Secretary General? None.
Well, that was a recap there of some of the nominations by the Director of the Elections Agency, Buntle Mpakanyane there. So just looking at that, very interesting. Firstly, let's start off with the nomination for President, Ronesh. Ronesh Doraj, our research person here at the SABC, joins us now. And Ronesh, firstly, one of the things that was quite clear there, even before we look at the president, is the number of votes that were cast for the individual candidates. And especially looking at the Nkosazana slate and how only 2 people managed to get above the 1,000 vote threshold there, which is Nkosazana and in the position of deputy as well, Didi Mabuza. So let's talk about that, but let's start with the president.
Yeah, very interesting numbers, Sakina. You know, obviously you're looking at the presidential race, that's the big one. If you look at the number of branch nominations that actually emanated from the provincial general councils, so Ramaphosa leading the pack with 1,469 branch nominations from 6 provinces. He obviously accepted. Dr. Dlamini Zuma with 1,094 from 6 provinces. And very interesting, the difference between the 2 numbers is 375. Again, like Eldrin said, remember these are branch nominations, not necessarily equating to 1 delegate. So some of the branches might be a little bigger, like we know in eThekwini is the biggest region in the country of the ANC. So some branches there will naturally have more delegates assigned to them. Then the deputy president's posts, for me it's a foregone conclusion. If you look at the nominations from the branches, we've got the current Mpumalanga chairperson and the premier, David Mabuza, 1,128. He's been nominated by 6 provinces. Then his closest rival is Lindiwe Sisulu with 619. Then we saw lots of gasps in plenary when Willem Kize stood up and said, I decline very kindly. Thank you very much for that nomination. But he was nominated by 193 branches. So if you look at the difference between 1,128 and 619, I somehow can foresee this is a foregone conclusion that David Mabuza will be the deputy president of the ANC. Then the other nominations, the chairperson, Gwede Mantashe, very big difference between him and Nati Mtetwa. Gwede Mantashe, drawing support of 1,499 branches from 7 provinces. That's a massive, massive majority, 7 of the 9 provinces. Then Nati Mtetwa, 5 provinces endorsed him with 807 nominations. Then here's another very interesting one for me. The former chair of KZN, Senzo Mkunu, he was also the premier there. Another majority judgment, another majority endorsement, 7 provinces endorsing him with 1,479 branch nominations. His closest rival, the disputed chairperson of the Free State, Ace Makashule, with 930
action in the province.
So Ace Makashule with 930 nominations. But if you look at the provincial endorsements compared to Senzo, Senzo has 7 provinces on his side, while Ace has 5 provinces. Then the DSG, the Deputy Secretary General, this again, I also think it's a foregone conclusion. Jessie Duarte, who is the incumbent, she managed to draw 845 branch nominations, majority of the provinces supporting her, 7 provinces on her side. Then her closest rival is Zingiswa Losi. Like Eldred said earlier, probably the youngest candidate on this, on this list of the top 6. She only has the support of 3 provinces. Very, very surprising. And then obviously there were 2 other candidates. One of them, also SABC board member Phoebe Potgieter-Kobule. She declined the nomination before actually, coming to plenary. Then the last one, this one for me is a foregone conclusion. The current chairperson of Gauteng, Paul Mashatile, he's way ahead with 7 provinces giving him the endorsement. He is sitting with 1,581 branch nominations. Then we saw what happened earlier. Nomvula Monkanyane, she was nominated by 289 branches, but just by 1 province, and she declined. Then his rival is going to be Maite Nkwana Mashabane, 275 branch nominations, and with her it's just 4 provinces. So I think, for me, looking at this list, 2 positions are already decided. The post of deputy president, my bet is on David Mabuza. That's, if you look at the numbers that we have in front of us, and Paul Mashatile should prepare himself to manage the ANC's finances for the next 5 years.
I'll put the number 3 on that and say that Senzo Mkhunu might be, as it stands at the moment, 1,479 nominations, probably one of the some of the highest. But the interesting thing though is looking at Paul Mashatile, 1,581 nominations. That is the highest out of all the nominees that are taking part in this contest to become leader of the ANC, or part of the leadership of the ANC. How has he been able to do this?
I think there's been a lot of wheeling and dealing. We obviously saw, in the run-up to this national conference, lots of chairpersons of the different provinces have been meeting, having their quiet meetings behind closed doors. The media was not privy to what was actually being discussed at those meetings. If I look at this list of the top 6, all this while people were talking about the so-called unity vote, and if I look at this list, I can see a fair balance of both factions, or both sides, both slates being accommodated. If you look at the presidential race, you look at the deputy president's post as well, David Mabuza is included. Then you look at the TG's post, Paul Mashatile, the DSG's post, Jesse Duarte. So I somehow think there's going to be a 50% balance of both, Cyril Ramaphosa and Dr. Dlamini Zuma's so-called factions or so-called slates. But I think the one disappointing thing for me is obviously the gender balance. If you look at this list, just 1 female who is likely to actually come out victorious in this race.
And that is Jesse Duarte.
Jesse Duarte, for DSG.
But I think also, just to put a little disclaimer on it, these are the branch nominations. And of course, those delegates go in there and they will do whatever they feel like doing. But it's quite a good indicator of where things may go, at least outlining one scenario. Lebohang, what do you make of it?
Yeah, there are no real surprises. I think the slate has been in composition for quite a long time. It probably reflects a lot of the horse trading, a lot of the bartering, and also an attempt to consolidate the balance of forces within the ANC at the moment, which is quite an undertaking. But what's more sort of fairly interesting is also that this generational lineage that we were talking about earlier is really absent here. I think for me, it's disappointing, with all respect to the names here. It's disappointing to see, Gwede Mantashe being recycled, Ace Mahashula being recycled, Senzo Mkhunu. I mean, and really, there's nothing fresh here, and it's like Jesse Duarte being recycled.
The
in the
question
same position, sorry.
of the gender agenda.
That
because
as part of the intergenerational mix.
Absolutely, because what does this mean for that?
And how is this the party that's then claiming to be renewing itself? Self-correcting. I mean, what is the definition of insanity? It's the same crew for another 5 years, which is extremely unfortunate. Not that there's anything. I think the perspective is one of the victims of longevity, of incumbency. It's difficult to remain as objective, as fresh, as dynamic as one would be with the same self-referring group of 6 or group of however many the NEC eventually will be composed of. It's just so difficult. And I think at a time like this, if there was a real commitment to renewal, we would be seeing a radically different list of names, age range, conscientious gender balance, etc. It's really more of the same. A pity.
What would you say to someone in the ANC who might make the argument that continuation has to feature when we elect new leadership? There should be some of those who are part of the leadership before who are also part of the top officials.
Yeah, some, not all.
Yeah, where's the mix?
Where's the some?
There's no mix there. But I think in certain instances also, if you take Lingiswa Lozi, for example, I'm not surprised at that, because remember her and the Kosatu debacle. So, you know, delegates coming here may be aware of that, and therefore when I saw the number of branches that actually nominated her, I wasn't surprised, because I thought she was a surprise on that slate to begin with.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And the fact that there were not that many, I mean, there were not that many people around her who also helped to build up, because, you know, as a candidate, you're not a monolith. You should have some kind of a critical mass around you, right, who are also talking you up. There's been very little of that, not in the way that we've seen for many of the other candidates. You know? And I think that's the other thing, that they shouldn't be lone rangers. These people should represent constituents, they should represent communities, they should represent positions, ideas, and that's not quite coming through either.
I wonder though, when you look at Jesse Duarte's position, I wonder whether the branches at all believe that there's no other fit person to take on that position as Deputy SG of the ANC. Because as it stands at the moment, she's probably the only person who's running for the same position from the previous top 6 officials, and she has the highest nominations for that position.
Exactly.
And I think with Jessie Duarte, you would recall at Mangung, she was uncontested. So there was no other candidates competing against her. And the fact that she's still highly likely going to be the Deputy Secretary General of the ANC for the next 5 years, I would have assumed that she had bigger ambitions, probably the SG's post, because, you know, serving as a deputy, the next step would be the SG's post, or perhaps the chairperson's post. So I'm very surprised that she actually accepted this nomination.
Perhaps she knows her limitations and how far up she can actually go. But more importantly, if you think about this in terms of you know, proxy wars, does this mean then that you have the female candidates simply there, you know, as proxies for male candidates and male interests?
You know, my problem with women candidates who are parachuted in, and I said this earlier, and I've been saying this for the duration of the conference, is that it doesn't do anything to build a culture from the ground up. These things, you know, a culture of an organization which has a sincere and authentic commitment to women's empowerment, to some kind of a feminist, gendered organization in every real sense, has to be an organic, sincere, ground-up movement. You don't parachute. I'm very reluctant, in as much as it's fine to have symbols. Symbols are good. You know, symbolism is fine, but that doesn't fix and resolve the inherent deficits in terms of male-female power relations. None of this is going to address some of the abhorrent behavior and the culture of impunity we've seen regarding sexual harassment, terrible allegations within the ANC.
But none of that was addressed. You had 3 candidates who were running for the presidency, 3 female candidates, and none of them really addressed any of these issues.
And this has been the gap, even with the Women's League, that they have also become a proxy for other issues. I think, you know, over the last 10, 20 years, when was the last time that we even saw a shadow budget report from the Women's League where women should be in the budget, where women should be in Agenda 2030, where women should be, etc., etc. We don't see these sorts of reflections. I don't know, perhaps when I should have another view.
Let me push it a bit, and let's speak about race reflections. Because when you look at the top 6, and that's the strange thing about the ANC, is that it is, well, we could have a debate about whether colored people are black or not. But here's the thing, the entire top 6 are black except for one position, which is the position of Deputy Secretary General, Jessie Duarte. And again, the person who was nominated to stand alongside Jesu Duarte, Phoebe Potgieter-Kubule. Again, the same thing. Is the ANC ever going to reach a point where it's truly reflective of what South Africa is, this rainbow nation that Mandela once spoke of? Will that ever happen?
I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon. And I watched an interview with Jessie Duarte just the other day. She was speaking at the Lalu Chiba funeral, and I think it was you, Aldrin, or Mzwai or somebody. And Jessie, caught on to the idea that when she went to Limpopo and she only saw one, person of another race, within that crowd, and that concerned her, that worried her, because there is this assumption that the ANC is moving away from that, from being a non-racial party. The ANC was open to all races, decades back. So the fact that we are moving more towards that, instead of embracing that unity factor, the fact that the ANC is now becoming a black African party, I think we all should be concerned. And we also got to consider, two things. Firstly, the 2019 elections is around the corner. We all know that the minorities, such as whites, Indians, and so-called colored people, do not necessarily support the ANC, like we saw in the organizational reports. Gwede Mantashe touched upon the subject numerous times, and he says we are losing the vote of the minorities and we should be concerned. A manifestation of this was last year's local government elections, and in the SG's report, those numbers were reflected there, that we are losing support among these minorities. And if you look at the national events, you look at Human Rights Day, you look at all the other ones, June 16, the predominant faces you will see at those events are not minorities. Why? So the ANC needs to address, those issues. Then the other thing, around this entire leadership election, fine, we can focus on the top 6. But I think the other matter we need to watch very, very closely when these elections are decided, we need to watch who gets into that National Executive Committee. Okay, fine, this unity vote, maybe 50% of the so-called Cyril slate will get in, 50% of the Dr. Dlamini Zuma. But I think we need to watch that racial balance coming into that NEC, because remember, the NEC is that highest decision-making body between national conferences. So if we see changes within that NEC, of that 80-member NEC, so maybe the ANC will gradually make that change leading up to 2019.
But what evidence is there to support this? Because if you think about it, the so-called minorities within the ANC have raised this issue. They flagged it severally, and nothing has been done about it. I vividly remember in the run-up to the 2016 elections, a caller calling from the Sefako Mahato branch, calling in to a program that the SG Gwede Mantashe was on, and raising that very issue very pointedly, and was basically just shut down right there on air. So, the minorities within the ANC are speaking out, but even then, it doesn't seem as though they are finding, a willing ear.
And I think it also speaks to this whole unitarism that seems to have set in the ANC. We spoke about it earlier in relation to the tripartite alliance and the discomforts there, but I think the unitary approach in terms of a world vision, a perspective, and the ideological non-resolution of who should have the greatest voice within the ANC and who should shape the future of this country. And I think that the lack of consensus and the lack of really a coalescence around what you refer to as minority voices. I mean, what's a minority within South Africa?
Hence, I said a so-called minority voice
as well.
But the point that you made previously about the generational mix, and that argument that if everybody is of the same age group, then it raises other sort of issues and creates other problems. Doesn't the same then apply to the racial makeup of the party?
It's arguable. I mean, another argument could be that perhaps they're just reflecting on flat demographics. That this is the majority of people look and sound a particular way, and this is what has happened to rise. But I think the problem with that is that if there isn't intentionality, then you're going to get a particular trend. If you're not intentional about promoting, nurturing leadership intergenerational leadership in the various ways that we have framed, you're going to keep on seeing basically the same faces and the same kind of discourse that arises from that, and the same kind of culture and behaviors that also, we need a bit of disruption at this time.
Do you think that the ANC should take it down to policy level, like they did with with the gender mix, when it comes to the minorities?
I think they should, and very worrying for the ANC. Again, I will refer to the Secretary General's organizational reports we saw at the NGC in 2015, and then at the June Policy Conference this year. What surprised the ANC about the 2016 local government elections was they normally estimate the difference between their local government tallies and the national elections is around 4%. But what happened last year was that 4% was doubled. That difference between national elections and local elections actually doubled from 4% to 8%. So the ANC is very concerned, and the fact that most of the minorities did not vote for them, obviously it sounded alarm bells for them. So they need to bring that policy back into their documents, and obviously we know National Conference is where those policies are discussed and they are rubber stamped. So those discussions need to happen here, because remember, National Conference is not only about leadership elections. Here those policies need to be thrashed out. The branches need to make those decisions.
Well, indeed, it's the branches that need to make those decisions. And when we look at other political parties, quite precisely looking at the DA, the DA intentionally and deliberately made sure that they appoint a black spokesperson for the party, and the leader of the party is black, as they try to attract the black votes. Sakina?
Yeah, absolutely. But of course, these are conversations that are not likely to find much, space and attraction here at this particular conference, as we've heard. But of course, we're going to have to leave it there for now.
Well, yes, we leave it there for now, but we'll continue with our coverage of the ANC's elective conference as the voting gets underway. Let's go straight to the studio in Auckland Park.